Good morning, Goderich. This is Anthony Wilkinson. I'm here with Josh House. Good day to you, sir.
Good day to you too.
And Josh is a local luthier. And what is a luthier?
A luthier is anyone who builds or repairs stringed instruments. So it could be someone who builds guitars like myself, or anyone that builds violins or mandolins, or just does stringed instrument repair work.
Okay. And how did you get started as a luthier?
It was an interest that came out of playing. In my younger teens, I started playing guitar, and my teacher at the time, who's a local teacher here in town, Mike Crocker, he kind of got me interested in the whole idea. And when I was done high school, I had the opportunity to go and take a course on building guitars, and kind of went from there.
Okay, so whereabouts did you take? Like, is there a local school for luthiers, or is it?
No, there's only a handful of places in North America that offer this type of training. So I went and studied with a builder who was living in Oshawa at the time. His name is Sergei Dion. He's a world-renowned guitar builder. He's living in Quebec now, but I went to Oshawa and basically lived with him for a month, along with 4 other students, and we kind of got a crash course in guitar building.
So this this is really like a craftsmanship business. Like, this is a detail-oriented business.
Very much, yeah.
And you kind of, so it follows, like, you sort of apprentice with somebody then? Like, you kind of, or is that the best way to learn is actually kind of with somebody?
Ideally, the best way to learn this kind of a trade is an apprenticeship, something that lasts for a few months to maybe a couple of years, but it's really hard to find people in these trades that'll take on apprentices, just because you got to have the space, and most of us work at a fairly limited size shops, and you got to have the time as well.
Awesome. So tell me what's coming up for you.
I'm going into, this is my 7th year since I started my business, and I'm doing this full time now. And since it's coming up into the summer months now, I'm just getting ready for a few shows. This weekend I'll be heading to the Montreal Guitar show, which is one of the biggest shows in North America. There will be probably 100 to 150 builders like myself, all displaying our guitars in one location. And after that, I do the Celtic Festival here locally. So I teach at the Celtic College, and then I'll be displaying at the Celtic Festival.
Okay, so do you teach like luthier skills at the Celtic College as well then? Or?
Yeah, it's a musical instrument repair course.
Right.
So what happens is a student will bring in an instrument that's broken, and I will hopefully help them fix it in the course of the week. So, and depending on what instruments they have and what the problem is, kind of dictates what gets covered in the time they spend in the class.
Right. That's excellent. I just now you were telling me about how does most of your business custom work, or is it mostly retail, or how does that work for you?
It's all fairly customized, even in the retail stuff I do through other stores. Basically, I offer a variety of different shapes of instruments. You can see a couple behind me. And so the customer will pick out the shape that they want, and then they can pick from one of 3 appointment packages, which kind of dictate how fancy the guitar is going to be. Right. And then even within those packages, there's a lot of little details that they can personally select. What kind of woods and stuff.
Yeah. How would you describe your particular style of guitars versus, say, other luthiers? Yeah,
my style is kind of a blend of traditional and modern, and it's kind of right in the middle somewhere. I build a lot of traditional shapes. These are guitar shapes that have been around, many of them for 60 or 70 years, and yet the techniques and the bracing pattern, which are the things that kind of dictate how they sound. A lot of that is my own design, along with some modern ideas about how that should work. So, kind of traditional on the outside with some modern touches and innovations of my own.
Excellent. Okay. And when you say going to Montreal, so how many guitars would you typically take with you to that show? Or how many guitars are you taking this year, I guess?
This year I'm taking 4 instruments. Generally I try and have between 2 and 4 instruments at my shows, depending on, it just kind of depends what I have available at the time.
Okay. And you're an acoustic builder?
Yeah,
predominantly?
Predominantly right now.
Yeah.
I'm in the process of getting some new equipment set up, and in the future I hope to branch out a little bit, do some electric guitars as well as some other instruments like mandolins.
Yeah, because we were talking about the mandolin before. You were doing sort of was a mandolin guitar hybrid design or something?
Yeah, I've done called guitar bazookies, but it's a guitar-sized instrument that has 8 strings and similar tunings to a mandolin.
Okay.
So yeah, I've done a few odd things kind of in there as well.
That's really neat. Okay. So would you like to talk about these guitars that these are 2 guitars that are going to the show with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I stand up. Am I still in the shot here?
Oh, we'll figure it out. It's good.
Okay, these are 2 models. This is a traditional style, what they call slope shoulder dreadnought, and this one over here is what they call a triple O. And these are actually 2 shapes that I've just introduced to my lineup within the past year. So I've only built 2 or 3 of each shape so far, but I've got a really good response to both shapes.
What I'll do is I'll bring the camera up closer, just so I'll see if I get the framing right. I'll keep my hands relatively steady here. Okay, so would you like to kind of point out what makes what makes the shapes, what they are, what the nomenclature basically?
Yeah, the shape is the body shape. The neck basically remains the same across any instrument. I guess I could just point out a few of the woods.
Sure.
This is a very traditional style guitar, and it has an Indian rosewood back and sides. And this is what they call an Adirondack spruce top, which is considered one of the best sounding tops for an acoustic guitar. And then this guitar is trimmed with a fancy wood called flamed koa, a wood that only grows in Hawaii. So kind of an interesting thing.
So how do you get how does your material, do you call Hawaii and order?
You can,
or do you
actually.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But no, I tend to, I buy as much of my materials in Canada as I can. A lot of the woods that's used for tops and guitars is usually a soft wood, spruce or cedar, and some of the best spruce and cedar tops in the world come from Canada, from BC. So I get what I can here in Canada, but a lot of the more exotic stuff comes from overseas, and I usually purchase from dealers in the U.S. Just because there's a much bigger market in the U.S. and a lot more available.
Okay, so you're saying that this is a slope shoulder here.
Slope shoulder dreadnought.
And this one here is a
triple O, is what they call it. There's again, it's an old shape that's been around for a long time, and they would just designate shapes with double O, triple O, depending on the body size. But this one tends to be a narrower body, and it's a very long guitar.
And on some of the ones I've noticed here, because there's this port on
the side. Yeah, a lot of people ask about this port, and most people who haven't seen it before assume that it's for electronics of some kind, but actually it's just an additional sound hole to let the sound come up to you while you're playing it. Traditionally, with the sound hole in front, most of the sound is projecting in front of the instrument. This allows the sound to kind of project more in this type of a direction, so the player gets to hear the instrument much better. Just a better listening experience for the player.
And it shows off your handiwork too, right?
It does. That means they can really see what's going on inside the guitar, and it's forced me to be a lot cleaner in my work.